Agreed.
Okay, recording has started. Welcome to yet another AMA here in the bakery. Today we have Owners Unity. We have a whole ecosystem with borrowing, lending, staking, and a lot going on. And we have a couple team members here. Starting with Des, maybe you can introduce yourself and then give over to the next colleague.
Okay, yeah, just so you can see I'm a real person, same as the picture on the website. Hi, my name's Scott. That's my real name. I'm from the UK, but I live in Poland currently. I've run my own business consultancy since 2013. I've been involved most of my life in and around construction, project management, etc. I was introduced to crypto by a friend who in 2011 said, there's this thing called Bitcoin, we should try it. And I'm pretty sure I did what 99.9% of the rest of the people that were first told about it, they went, it'll never become anything. So I didn't invest. And then in 2018, I invested in Cardano, and I've been in and around crypto ever since, and that's me.
Awesome. It's nice to hear somebody has a good background within the crypto genre, especially with people that have been here a while, that have had that research. So you can definitely gonna have a lot more research than me on this housing part, which I'll be keep looking forward to learning and ask some questions on. But I like seeing people that have got that experience.
Hi, my name is Raj. I'm basically an Amazon solution architect into Amazon Cloud. I've got more than 10 years of experience into IT. In crypto, I've got more than 5 years of experience. I have been a part of multiple projects in their business development, preparing the strategy, roadmap. I own a AMA group as well. And yeah, I will be handling the operations of Owners Unity token.
Lovely to meet you, buddy. And I believe we have one more team member, or is he the one we're struggling?
I think I can go next. So my name is Tyson. I am a resident of the Midwest United States. Probably been in crypto. I don't know. I really guess I got into it kind of when the whole Doge and all that kind of took off, a lot like Scott. Heard about it early, heard about Bitcoin, heard about all that. Never really found the funds to go into it, even though back then it would have been nice to even just throw $5 at it. But currently, I've done sales all my life, but currently I'm in real estate. So have a lot of experience as far as, you know, kind of the inner workings of what goes on through that. Also starting to work on kind of our US part of things, starting to look at setting up a brokerage and stuff like that. So can answer a lot of the questions, you know, real estate side, obviously very familiar with, you know, 2007 and what kind of transpired after that. And obviously very aware of the market and everything that's going on. It's still really crazy, especially where I'm at. There's still homes that are going, you know, $10,000, $20,000 over list price. So it's a market that is always evolving, but really think that, you know, I'm started out as an early investor in it, now kind of on the advisory role of out and just really excited about what the project can bring. So happy to answer any questions that may come up.
Lovely to meet you, buddy. It's a pleasure. Alrighty, so let's go over a base for the community.
Simon just introduced himself, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry, we got another person. My apologies.
I think you need to unmute him.
You are unmuted, Simon, yeah. You may unmute your own mic now, Simon.
Thanks, guys. My name is Simon Henderson. I run the estate agency in the northeast of England, County Durham. I was introduced to this by Scott a while back with an idea of how we could combine the DeFi and the real world. And in doing so, an opportunity arose, which I thought was worthwhile doing. So if you guys do have any questions with regards to the residential side and affiliates throughout the course of this, please, I'm more than willing to and happy to answer.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that I would be interested in as being an influencer, of course, and also looking for property. So unless Mick's got a question to start off, I'll start them off.
No, it's great to hear there's a lot of experience on this table at the moment. So I'll let you take it away, Immortal.
Alrighty. So let's get a base understanding for the community. Give me a brief bit of information of what we have in front of us. What are we looking at in terms of just your base, utilities, and base projects?
Okay, it's key to understand that we are a hybrid or transitionary project. So we are an ecosystem within crypto, and we are also an ecosystem in the real world, and we're looking to fuse the two, hence hybrid/transitionary. In the ecosystem, we have staking from day one. We also have CVP, which is a KYC verification type product. On the real world side, we have an energy brokerage, which is up and running, called Owners Utility, which will also be creating funds for the product from day one. The ownership, whilst it is important to us because we want to do something good, it is literally another revenue stream for the overall project. It's just doing good. But ultimately, along with the energy brokerage and the additional real world utilities that we add and the crypto utilities that we add, they all go into building this project out. That's where we are at the moment.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of not a lot of knowledge for me to take in. There's a lot to look through, especially when we get down through the white paper parts into the core structure of your taxes, your tokenomics, etc. But nice brief overview that is for the community. So I'd like to know more personally on the side of the property part more than the project. Projects, of course, we see these in crypto, we wholesale them a lot. For me personally, I would like to know more about what is going on with the property side, the actual Unity side, than the project.
Yeah, not a problem. It's quite straightforward. A couple of our advisors, so Shay Taylor, he's a friend of mine from school. He's been involved in property since he was 18. Obviously, we've discussed it, all of us. Like, I'm a mature gentleman myself, been involved in talking about mortgages and how the whole system, especially after the last collapse, is an issue. And we devised a system that we thought would be beneficiary. The main problem at the time was the funding and how to put forward what we wanted to do, because it directly goes against what the banks are doing, and trying to get finance for something that is gonna try to impact their control of the monopolization of this specific market was difficult. Then obviously crypto came along and it gave us opportunities which we have fused together to build out this product. The product's quite simple. It's like any normal real estate. So we've kept the crypto out of it because we don't want to scare people away to start with. So we're not going out there saying this is a crypto property structure. You don't pay with crypto. It's all fiat based. So it all works traditionally within that market to start, and then we educate people through, and we bring in the crypto aspect with regards to the portfolio on the property. Because if you show people how crypto benefits them in the real world, as in, does it help me feed my kids? Does it help me pay my bills? Does it help me keep a roof over my head? Normal stuff. That's how we're going to bring adoption, not through staking and giving 3,000% APY. That's just my opinion. So basically, the way we set it up is it's a traditional business. Someone goes on site, they type in looking for a property. We don't purchase the property to start with. We don't own the properties to start with. They look for the property they want. So like with a traditional mortgage, you find a property, you say, I would like to buy that. They come to us. We then would purchase the property for them, and then they would move in under a more traditional type of rental agreement. And then there would be figures that are agreed in the first instance. And then when those figures are reached, they are offered either to, because it's always in the wording, as I'm sure you guys are aware, they are either offered to take ownership or to continue as a renter. If they take ownership, they then take over the property in the portfolio. If not, then they stay on as a renter. And that's it in a nutshell. That's the process. And we've run through this with the FCA, and they have no issue because we're not loaning, which is key. We're not we're not loaning anything. We're not leveraging anything. So also on our properties, there's no interest. If the property costs 120k, 2 seconds, sorry. 1 second.
Right. So I think the differentiator, what I'm hearing is that they have the ownership for when the full amount is paid. So let's say 25 or 30 years payments. Typically, for example, my house, I'm the owner, but I also own a mortgage, so that levels out. And in this regard, they are the owner, they have the risk, and they get monthly payments, which total to a sum that covers the initial purchase amount. To wonder how the, let's say, bills are paid for, I don't know, how do you call that? Like maintenance. Oh, are you back, Scott?
Yeah, maintenance. We cover all of that. Like traditional rented property, we have to cover the external maintenance, but the internal is obviously dealt with by the client.
Right.
Obviously, so it's literally a traditional format. With regards to the basics, I can't go into too much depth for obvious reasons because part of what we do is the secret sauce. But hopefully I can give you enough information so you can see how it works in principle without us having to give the keys to the castle away. But it is, that's why we say it is traditional. There's only literally a couple of small things that are different. And those are the things that we have discussed and we need to keep to ourselves. But, like you said, we do own the property up until it's handed over. But we don't make a secret of that. We have 2 contracts. We're registered with the NRLA in the UK. So we are, we have, full coverage. We'll have indemnity insurance. It's all just a traditional format with a couple of tweaks.
It sounds to me very similar to the house. I'm not sure if it's an English word, but in the Netherlands we have the housing corporations, which are basically large organizations, institutions who have portfolios of rentals. Typically, like entire neighborhoods, they have either built themselves or bought and then renovated, and then they are renting them. And then we have like controlled for people that have less income. Like if you're below the bracket, then it's a maximum that can be charged. And then you have the free market, which basically can go to any height depending on what someone pays for it. But they are the owners of the houses. And yes, at some point they might offer it to the rentee. So to the person living in the property, but it does sound very similar. Is that correct? Like, is that the same mechanics?
It's similar, but you will find that I'm pretty sure that when in your format, when it's offered to people, there is then a fee to be paid. So, for instance, they will say, you've lived here for a long time, you've been a really good tenant, so we will knock off 30% of the asking price, for instance.
Right.
With us, from day one, you are reducing the cost of the property. So from when you move in and you start making payments and it goes through our system, you are constantly reducing the amount of value of the property. And then once it reaches the level that, like, just to keep it simple, if you moved in and it was 100K, once your portfolio hits 100K, then we will offer that over. We don't then say, oh, you know, you've been really good, you can buy it at 70% of the, you know, market price.
And if you, what do you mean by portfolio?
That's the beauty of where crypto comes in, my friend. Every home we tie a portfolio to. So through our tokenomics, we take the money that comes into our business, we reinvest it, and then we redistribute the profits.
Okay.
So we rather, whereas a normal business shares it out to its shareholders and pays itself dividends and bonuses, we don't do that. We filter some of it back to the token holders, and we also give a percentage back to the client, and that then reduces the amount of time it takes for the client to own the property. And it's a business by volume.
Right, yes.
So a lot of... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Look, yeah.
So from what I can see, a lot of people, of course, are going to be having to KYC. There's no option against that. They're in a house. They're going to have to KYC docs, etc., legalize. What would be your procedure, and what company / backing security would you be going with? I'm just going to say the public. It's the public that they're going to be coming in, actually purchasing the property. What would be their procedure? So if I was to come to you and say, right, I want this property, looking to buy, where would I go from here?
Yeah, we have a pretty straightforward process. It's called the affordability check. So we would run you through, we've got CVP, which is our system, which does full background, credit, criminal, etc. checks for the real world, but you can also do full project checks, so project audits, etc., etc., etc. So it's, yet again, it's a hybrid product because we're trying to build out everything to be hybrid and to be transitional, to try and bring both worlds together, because that's, you know, as long as they stay separate, crypto is just going to be part of the fintech market and it's never going to decouple. So you've got to make the effort to get there. You can't get there all at once. So you have to go through transitional stages, and that's what we're starting to do. But you go through the affordability check, which is a normal check, but we don't use an algorithm. So whereas a mortgage company or a mortgage provider would usually reject you without actually looking into the details of what you have, we take our time, we go through it. If you've been paying rent for 5 to 10 years on a property, for instance, which is normally double or at least a third more than you would pay for a mortgage, and you've been paying that for an extended period of time, but you got a parking ticket that you forgot about that's impacted your credit, or you've looked for a mortgage, and every time you look for a mortgage, your footprint is then impacted by you looking for the best mortgage you can get, you then can't get a good mortgage, which is no excuse. So we don't take those into consideration. And as long as you can afford the payments, you're working, and your credit history is sound, doesn't have to be perfect, but sound, everyone's allowed to make mistakes, then what we would do is put you forward to the community as a reference number, because obviously there's laws that you've got to follow to make sure you don't reveal any personal information from anyone. It's different in different countries. But what we do is then we put it to the community votes, and if they think you're a good fit, then you get onto the owner's unity payment plan, and you're in, and then you get to choose your house, and we go forward from there.
What happens if I want to relocate? Let's say I rented I bought a property, or you guys bought it for me. I stayed there for 5 years. I already paid monthly installments up to, I don't know, let's say 20K. And after 5 years, I say, guys, thank you, but I want to move to the next house and I won't be using your service this time around. What happens to that 20K?
You don't get it back. Obviously, it's the same as a traditional renting system. So if you live with us and you sign up to our program and our agreement, we're offering you the opportunity. If you stay with us and choose a different house, not only do you take that money with you, but the money that's been accrued in the portfolio, which I think is important and is being missed out, goes with you as well. So for instance, say you've added that 20K, and out of that 20K, you've made an additional 15K. So in effect, you've knocked 35K off of the value of the property. And you say, right, I want to move to another property. If you utilise our services still, and you can take that plus the additional equity in the house. So if the house cost 100K and it's gone up to 130K, that's an additional 30K as well that you can take because it stays in our ecosystem. But we have to protect against people trying to game the system. So moving in for 5 years thinking, yeah, I can double my money, so to speak, sell, move, and then I've made myself 20 grand profit that I wouldn't traditionally make if I went to a normal service. So that's what we are trying to protect against with that. And we do state quite clearly, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of this as well, if you moved into a normal rental property for 5 years and said, all right, fine, thanks, no thanks, I want to go now, you're not going to get all of your rent back, are you?
No, that's definitely true, but then it becomes very important what the installments are in comparison to rent. Because if I buy a property, finance it through the bank, and at the moment, like, okay, now they've gone up a bit, but let's say the past year or so, the interest rate was what, like 2%. Everything that I paid in the installments that wasn't interest, which is at least 50% of my installments, would be savings, so to say. That's equity that I built. So now that I'm selling my house, I've lived here for 4 years, and all the value accumulated during that period is for me for just 4 years. So that does speak a bit in favor of a mortgage, doesn't it?
Not really, because we're not targeting people that are going for mortgages. There are a multitude of people out there that aren't getting mortgages for the reason I've just explained. Right. So they're renting anyway. But if you look at that anyway, if you've been paying your mortgage for 4 years, you haven't actually been paying your mortgage, you've been paying the interest on your mortgage if it's only 4 years, realistically into a 30-year mortgage. You disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so all right, a proportion of what you've been paying would be interest. So if you've paid 100 grand on the property and you're paying your 2% annually, then obviously not every penny you've paid on your mortgage actually comes off the price of the mortgage, and it takes the full 30 years to make payments.
Right.
Whereas what we're doing is saying, if you can't get a mortgage, if you want a mortgage, that's fine. If you can't get a mortgage and you're going to be renting anyway, you can actually own your property, or if you don't want to have the interest payments. So if you don't want to be tied for 30 years to an agreement, then you can come and utilize our service and you can reduce the amount of time, because what you're doing is comparing apples to oranges. Mortgages don't, and I'll explain why very quickly, because we're not a mortgage provider. We're not charging any interest on our properties, and we are also using crypto and an investment schedule to reduce the amount of time it takes people to achieve ownership. So what you're doing is, yes, you are building equity in your property, and then you can sell it after 4 years. But if you sell after 4 years, I'm assuming, look at the amount of people that actually can't sell their houses because the market value's depreciated that much and the interest gone up, that they're in negative equity. So if they sell, they'll sell it, they're at a loss. That's another thing that we eradicate. So we're not saying that it's 100% better than anything, because nothing ever really is. What we're saying is, if you put them side by side and have a look at the overall benefits, we believe our product offers greater benefits than a traditional mortgage for multiple reasons. And another one of those reasons is that when things happen like are happening now, and you've got people in variable mortgages, like I think in America, a $400,000 property January this year was $1,700 a month to pay for your mortgage. It's gone up by $565 a month to date. Okay, so not many families are going to find that an easy amount of additional funds to pay. We don't have that impact because we don't have interest rates. Okay, so that's another key issue to take on board with what we're doing. We aren't saying that this is a savings plan with regards to, you're paying and, when you decide to move, you sell the property, you take the difference and, that would be a traditional mortgage. What we're saying is if you utilize our product, you're not going to have to go through any of those rigors or face any of those risks because they're not built into our system. And like I said, negating the whole crypto side of it as well, it's really impossible to appreciate what crypto brings to the property market. Because even if we only do a ×2, for instance, so even if we only doubled the people's investment, that would still reduce the amount of money that needs to be paid and the amount of years it would take to pay a mortgage off substantially. So it's on the tokenomics. You can see the figures there. So if we go to that, because that's a better thing to also help show the comparison between mortgages and our system. So I think I'll find the page as well because I've got it open here.
I did have a follow-up question for what you were just saying. I hear what you're saying, that it's more focused on rental and people that don't like the traditional mortgage, and that does make sense. Like, this is rental essentially, but the differentiator is you can pick what property that is actually for sale you can live in, and then have the benefits of crypto compounding, building portfolio to get ownership eventually once I expect the purchase price is hit, or portfolio target, depending on how you guys structure it. Where is the money coming from that is used to purchase the actual house? So let's say I apply for 300K financing, 25 years, building my portfolio, hitting that mark. I read a bit about the deposit I need to make. Where's the 300K coming from?
We are building the ecosystem to generate the funds to purchase the properties. We're not going to launch tomorrow and have 15 houses. Right. That's not the plan. We have investment, so that's good. But what we're also looking at is we are looking at building, like I said, an energy brokerage. For instance, the energy brokerage that we have will generate sufficient funds to help move this forward in a reasonable period of time. I've worked in the energy sector for a long time. The average salesperson in an business-to-business energy brokerage has a sales target of between £10,000 and £25,000 per month to generate revenue into the business. If you then put the lower end of that and take out obviously the overheads and the cost of running that company, and you put the rest into our system, that will help generate additional funds. And we're also not going to be targeting places like the south of England to start with. You've got to be realistic in your approach to start. So hence Simon, who is the estate agent in Durham, you can get properties up there for between 80 and 120k, for instance. So it's not going to take as long as people would imagine to generate the revenue to purchase a property or two to get started. And this is a long-term project, you know, so we're not looking to use any leverage whatsoever outside what we can produce by creating this hybrid ecosystem and putting the funds in, generating the funds, rewarding you guys, and then building from there. It takes time. Solid foundation, build from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like building slowly and understanding that it doesn't have to be 50, 30 houses in the beginning. You can build your portfolio more slowly. Do you have figures like forecasting in growth, how many houses you expect to own over the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, we did some forecasting, but we threw it out because it's cyclical and it's also. It's one of those things that when you utilize these figures, they're good for internal use to give you an idea. But when you put these figures out into the general space, people don't take them as forecast figures. People take them as what you're actually going to do. Yeah. And that's an issue. So, for instance, we had a lot of trouble with our white paper because we put a forecast in the white paper. Where it says property forecast on number 10. So if you scroll down to number 10, you'll see the property forecast that we've put in there, and that gives you a ×2 and a ×5 variant on how the funds would be distributed. So we go into detail about where the money's coming from, and it also gives you a breakdown in comparison to what the market figures are using, and we obviously quote the places that we've got the data and the information from. So the figures from Money Supermarket and Money Savings Expert. Go on, after you, bud.
Yeah, I did have a question about these calculations, because in my head I go, okay, you have a house that's bought for 200k, right? Pay that off over 25 years. You're talking about what, like 650, 660 a month, just to pay this sum back, and then comparing that to the monthly payment, that only leaves a gap of like $30. So in my head, I go, okay, so the return on investment and basically profit that can be shared back is $30 a month over a period of 25 years. But I'm sure I'm missing a bit because of the crypto and the other revenue streams.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. We don't use return of investment. We made that mistake early on. Because we didn't have a better way to explain it. But the money, this is a business that is being built on volume eventually. So, for instance, the additional revenue streams that all go into the tokenomics. So although you as a client are paying your payment plan payments into the tokenomics, that's not all that you get rewarded on. The whole system is geared to funding the tokenomics and generating revenue, and that revenue is divided. So, for instance, the energy brokerage, just keep it simple. If it was $1,000, £1,000, $1,000, whatever you want to call it, a month was the profit that was generated, that goes into the tokenomics, goes through the cycle we have, and then that is redistributed. So that's independent of what the client in the property has put in. If you look at the CVP system we have, the KYC system, which will obviously be generating funds independently itself, the profits made from that will also go into the system. All of this is designed to redistribute a little bit of the profit that a company makes, and to try and re-educate people to work together so that we can produce better outcomes for people. So your income isn't dead money. You know, the house prices are increasing a lot more than wages, and all we're doing is saying making money is good because we all want to make a profit, but you can then also redistribute a part of that and make things more equal. That's what we're trying to do.
Right. I must say I like the vision you guys have and how all the different components tie in together, where you have a rentee and you have different services, and it's all based around that rentee and his house. It does make me wonder about cash flow, and if you guys will have enough funds both to purchase new houses, to do maintenance on the houses, pay your staff and the local agents and that kind of stuff. But that's something that you can't write it down in a white paper. You can make forecasts, but only time will tell. Like that's really up to how you guys run your business.
I appreciate that, but this isn't our first rodeo. We're all very experienced in our field, so we've taken everything into account. And the two most stable, but the two most robust industries, despite all the flaws in the real world, are your energy sector and your housing sector, because there's always more.
Always need,
And 99.9% of people utilize energy, and we're a B2B, so we're a business to business utilities. We will obviously provide residential utility as well, but we will also be targeting B2B, business to business, because that generates greater revenue and greater funds which can go into the system. Plus, we don't have the office overheads because we all work from home or work externally. We'll have an office that we share. The real estate agents and the energy brokerage will be in the same property, so that's a reduction in overheads there. And almost everything is online, so we've done everything to strip and reduce the costs and the overheads as much as possible, which is another way that we can generate the revenue that goes into doing this. It's been well thought out and thought through over an extended period of time, which is how we've got to this specific system on how to fund and how to move forward with this idea. And yet again, the focus is, whilst we're focusing on the property side of it, because that is important, it is a whole ecosystem, and that ecosystem will build out. Someone we haven't mentioned yet is Barry McGinn, who is our capital construction advisor. He's on the website. He's currently working on Neom City, Armada, and the Red Sea project, all out in Saudi Arabia. Okay, he's worked on capital projects globally. We are building out additional utility with him involved. We are in partnership with other companies to produce products that are revolutionary in this space. So it's not just a case of having a launch pad, having an NFT pad and hoping that generates a bit of revenue. We are constantly working on building additional products with partners that will add value not only to this space but also in the real world, because our use case is all around having a holistic view to moving crypto into the mainstream, so transitioning and then decoupling.
Mm-hmm.
So one from me, or two from me actually. One, where would any reliability lay, as it would kind of be a third party and a fourth party, as I would be the purchaser, you would be the third party that I'm going through, and of course you would have the other company that you're actually purchasing this house from. Would any reliability still be on you, or would they be on the other company's side?
Yeah, no, you're overcomplicating it, buddy. There's no
right.
Third party. Basically, we're not lending you any money.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not purchasing anything whatsoever. So just imagine we were a traditional lettings agency. You saw a property, you decided you wanted to stay in that property. You signed up, you stayed in, you liked it, and then after a while, we said to you, "We think we've made enough money out of this. There you go. You can have the property if you want." That is the simplest way to explain it. There's always costs with regards to the solicitor's fees and the legals with regards to obviously purchasing the property. But it's that in its simplest form, that's the simplest way. It's not obviously that exactly simple. I'm just trying to keep from the over complications from occurring.
Yeah, no, I agree. I appreciate it. It's like I said, I've not that knowledge yet. I'm actually looking to rent my first house. Currently looking for houses, so convenient. But yeah, no, I appreciate giving the easier answer. So the second part of mine, just looking through the buys and the sell fees. You may have a reasoning for this, but I feel that 11% or a smaller percent of that 11% busty rewards could go towards somewhere better within the project, maybe shortening the time of these rent/mortgages paying, maybe more towards liquidity pools, which of course we all know will help you massively in the long run. What's the main reason for the large busty to holders?
Obviously, these will change over time. This is obviously the initial format that we are going with. And like I said before, you've also got to remember we're a hybrid project. So you can't really look at one aspect without taking the other aspect into consideration. So all of our real world utilities in the secondary and tertiary tokenomics put money into the liquidity pool. So external of the token buy sell volume, there's additional funds always going into the liquidity pool. So that's something to take into consideration on that side. With this side, to start with, we've looked at trying to be more traditional in our approach and to reward people so that you get a bit of volume. Because it's still important, you know, that you get people on board. You want people to hold the token. You want to get some trading involved. So that's why we've gone with a 50% return to the token holders from the buy and sales tax. That's why we've gone for that. The additional fees obviously appear small, but as we grow in volume, it's more of a secondary input with regards to what we intend to bring in from the real world projects as well. And we have additional utility that we haven't talked about because we're not bringing it to market until not long after launch.
I see a question is also posted in chat by O, which I find quite interesting. She says, as far as I understood in terms of the funding of the project, it will depend on a number of people participating in a way. How do you plan to deal with situations when someone will decide to leave the project for any reason, and how will that affect the other participants? It's kind of in line with what I asked, if someone wants to move to another property and what the effect will be. But to go a bit more in depth about that, what happens if someone can't pay their rent anymore and you can't find a new rentee for whatever reason? Because now the market is there, but it's not always like that. Like, what will happen? Where's the risk? Is that for your company? And if so, is there maybe insurances that you can take? I'm not sure about the whole let side of things. Like I explained, I'm a mortgage advisor, not the on the side of rent.
Yeah, no, happy to take that question. It's a good question. Again, because we're a hybrid project, you've got to look at the whole picture. The portfolio that's attached to the property can be used in cases of emergency. So say, for instance, someone injures themselves or loses their job. They've been in the property 4 to 5. I will get to the worst case scenario in a minute, but I'm just trying to, make sure that the whole picture is given out there. So they have that portfolio that they're filling up towards the total value of the property. If they get injured or something happens untowards, what they can then do is they can draw down against that whilst they are recovering, and that will then obviously deplete. Once they get back on their feet, get back to work, recover, whatever it is, then they just start paying in again, and then that goes up. So that's an additional security cushion for them, because we want people to stop having to worry about making certain decisions that aren't necessarily. So, for instance, in America, you know, if you have an accident, you've got a choice. A lot of people lose their home because they've either had to pay medical bills or pay their mortgage or their rent, and they've been evicted. So that's another thing that the portfolio does. It adds that additional security. Some people will eventually get evicted. You know, there's no such thing as a perfect system. Some people will get evicted. With regards to the coverage of the property, if no one else will move in, then we would sell the property and recoup the monies, then put that back through the tokenomics, and then keep that running through our system, or put it in our fail safe, which is also low in the tokenomics. And then when someone else wanted to move in, we would obviously then use those funds to put them back in situ. Worst case scenario, say everything possibly went wrong that could go wrong. It's built into our contracts that the property is then handed over to the person in situ at that time. So whoever's in our properties, in a worst case scenario, if we failed and went under, then they would retain ownership of the property. So they wouldn't be getting evicted after paying, 15 years into a plan. But then most of our plans, if you check the calculator at the end, don't take 15 years. So, that's the beauty of crypto at the moment, is you've got bull and bear cycles. You can make money in either. And you've seen, if anyone here that thinks a ×5 isn't possible in a bull market, I don't know what to, what to say to people. I believe crypto is the future. I'm fully committed to it, and that's why this system is built around taking the positives and the negatives in crypto, bull and bear markets, and using it for a bull market to make substantial gains and reductions in people's cost for the property, and in bear markets, just picking away at it, taking a ×1 or ×2 here and there. We'll lose some, there'll be losses. Of course there'll be losses. Be realistic. But if anyone that thinks that, in 10 years, there's not. I know that with institutional money, everything's changing, but with 10 to 12 years, you should get at least two bull markets in there, in a bear market. So I think you can be looking at reducing a 30-year mortgage if you have proper exit and entrance strategies, which we do. We have literally zero intention of seeing a massive green candle and thinking, oh, we're just holding a bit longer. We're just holding a bit longer. That's how you lose money. You set your targets and you stick to them, and that's what our formula and our figures are based on. But worst case scenario, if we go under, people in situ in their homes get to keep their homes. So we've with the portfolio, which hopefully we'll get to discuss in a bit greater detail. Because it's an amazing innovation, the portfolio that's tied to the property. Do you mind me touching on it quickly now, just very quickly? Or do you guys I
do have one more follow-up question, also from Owen in the same paragraph. So I would like to focus on that for one, and then second is your bit about the tokenomics and the portfolio. So she's saying, basically ties in what you were just saying about connecting the real world with the crypto, but turning it around, because compliance and for ordinary mortgages, the authorities have quite a regulative perspective on where money comes from with the anti-money laundering, how do you call that? Not directives, but anyways, if the money comes from crypto and also the other businesses, could that pose a risk for you as a company, having to explain where the money comes from? Because you can't check if that's criminal money, if it's tornado cash, or where the actual funds came from.
I understand that totally. But as with everything, you work within the regulations that are there. 90% or 95% of all cryptos are currently classed as unregulated securities, aren't they? So Correct. What you do is you build a system, which is what we're trying to build, and you be proactive, not reactive. We are aiming, once we have this absolutely down, because obviously with the, it's going to evolve and there's going to be issues that we'll have to overcome. Once we're comfortable and happy with the system we have, plus we have legal representation, we will go to the authorities and we will apply to be regulated. It's only a problem if you're trying to hide something. We first went to the FCA and run this past the FCA. So I don't know what else we can do with regards to regulation. We've spoken to someone about the SEC. We've got an advisor, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking, I can't talk about it specifically here, but a product that we are looking to bring out, we will go to the SEC with, and we will apply for it to, and this will be a hybrid crypto fiat product, which we're working on as we speak. And we will take that straight to the regulatory bodies and apply for regulation. Regulation is only a problem if you're trying to hide something, and we're not.
That does give me one follow-up question before I'll let you dive into the portfolio bit. On the website, I saw you are running for a private round, which could be called IPO, IDO, whatever you want to call it, but you're raising funds. If you go to the SEC, aren't you worried about the $250K fine that they might give you for running a unclassed ICO?
No, we're not, because that's not what we're currently doing at the moment. Like I said, we are keeping both aspects of it separate at this moment. So the funds that we generate for the crypto will go into the crypto building of the ecosystem. The funds that we raise at this moment in time from the real world utility will be going into, as a business, we can purchase crypto as a business if we want. And then we can generate funds from that, and we can use those funds as long as it's all declared. That's the key.
Well, what I'm saying is, as a business, you are selling a token, and that token is giving revenue. So basically, you're selling an investment contract, and by SEC terms, that is a security. So you're actually selling a ICO at the moment that is not registered under the, I don't know, Class A, I think they call it, something like that, which is finable by SEC at current regulations.
Yeah, no, and like I literally just said, 95% of cryptos that are offering an investment are an unregulated security. Yes. So any one of us could be fined 250K at any time. That's the SEC is literally defined. I think it's only Ethereum and Bitcoin that aren't registered as unregistered securities. So means the whole crypto space is everyone that's raised funds is up for a fine if they so decide to fine them. So, not much we can do about that at the moment, but we are building out products to take to them so that they either register us, or if they say we're not going to register you, then they can't fine us, can they, if we take the product to them? But at the moment, we are working within the traditional realms of the both worlds. So we're doing what we're doing in the crypto world, facing the same risks as literally every other crypto that raises money. And we are also working in the real world, generating revenue traditionally, that as a traditional company, we can invest how we see fit, as long as all of it is traceable. So there's no great issue there. I see how people, because I've been asked these questions a few times, if you've got nothing to fear, then there's no problem with either solution or either system, because you just have to take the lumps as and when they come. If the SEC decide to come after us, which I doubt they will, I doubt we'll be on their radar for a long time, because we're not going to be generating enough revenue to even bother them, are we?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I definitely agree that we as BSC microcaps won't be on the radar. But what triggered me was you saying we'll go to the SEC to get registered, and then they'll definitely look into it. So that was the only trigger, because normally I don't really buzz balls about this, because I have my own crypto project on BSC as well, which could also be classed as security. And we are looking to change it to utility with then not passing Howey tests and the whole shebang. But going to SEC is definitely something I would skip for now because I don't want to poke a sleeping bear, so to say. But yeah, enough about that. Please elaborate a bit more on the portfolio and how that's being built and how you can create more revenues and in that way also equity as a homeowner.
I will do. I just need to answer that though. When obviously I'm not putting a timescale on anything when we're having these discussions. You know, the products that we're building out aren't all going to be ready in the next 6 months, for instance. So some of the products that we will be looking to take to the SEC, and the SEC will probably move on regulation a lot quicker, especially with what's just happened. You know, we're looking at some regulation coming in pretty soon, but we're not going to poke the bear before we're ready to. And it's, you know, you've got to be proactive in this space. Everyone's staying the traditional way, and if you don't move it forward, we're getting nowhere. That's the whole point. Right, I'll go on to the strategies on how you can make money. Unless anyone else want to chip in? Tyson, anyone?
I think from the real estate side, you know, one of the things that, you know, really I focus on is the, you know, as an investment company goes for a house here in the US and I'm sure across the world, the one thing that they have that gives them dominance over, you know, you see these big companies like BlackRock and stuff like that going into, you know, suburban neighborhoods and buying up, you know, tons of houses, is they have cash. And cash is king in real estate, being able to go in, you know, above where, you know, a traditional mortgage can do. I mean, most home sellers, if they have the option of closing in 2 weeks and getting, you know, 200K in cash, will sometimes lean towards that way because it also, you know, bypasses other things, you know, reduces closing costs, all that kind of stuff, compared to, you know, the person that comes in with a traditional mortgage that's, you know, offering 210. And so one of the advantages that we'll have as a company will also be, you know, the ability to, you know, especially in this market where we sit, at least here in the Midwest US, with homes going over so much over, you know, sometimes value over appraisal and everything else, is that you'll be able to kind of go in there and, you know, show a little strength with the cash offer, which, you know, the people, again, that we are targeting are people that are having issues getting a mortgage. I mean, I've said this a few other times before, but this could really take off. I mean, we're going to almost have to slow this down in a lot of respects, because I could go to, I have several, you know, friends that are in the mortgage business, stuff like that. And I could probably go ask them, hey, you know, the next, you know, few people that come through that get denied by you, you know, if you don't mind, give me a call, give me their information, stuff like that. There are ways to, I've told Scott this a few times, I could probably in the first, you know, couple weeks have 3 or 4 clients that would be interested in this to get a home. So it really is a, you know, we're not going to be poking the bear in any sense. We've had people, you know, say, what do you do when you start to interrupt, you know, what's going on in the world right now? Like, we're not looking to steal away someone who wants to buy $1 million house from a mortgage company or something like that. We're looking for the people that actually need help, that are in tough circumstances, that have been paying, you know, $1,000 in rent for the last year and a half, haven't, you know, been able to save that, haven't had that to go anywhere. They can't sell the house and then, you know, get that money back and go to get their, you know, go to get approved for a mortgage. And the bank says, yeah, we can't approve you for $1,000. We can't even approve you for a loan that's $800. And so there is, you know, what we're trying to do and how we're trying to build out the company is to truly, you know, help those people, you know, make one of the biggest investments of their life. And actually at the end of that worst case scenario, 30 years, you know, hopefully it's 20 years. I mean, you know, Scott was talking about earlier, if we hit another bull run, you know, could be 15 years, you know, pay off that biggest investment, be able to build a portfolio, and then be able to, you know, truly change their lives moving forward.
Cheers for that, buddy. Like the portfolio strategy, that's, Tyson always covers it eloquently in what we are trying to do. But with regards to the strategies, these are the secondary and tertiary tokenomics, or autonomics as we call them. The primary autonomics are the buy-sell taxes for the token. The secondary and tertiary ones are basically all revenue that comes in. I think if you scroll to a different page first, just to show it clearer, would be the page up that we showed you before. So 9, so page 15 would probably help to start. Yeah, so this shows it out quite clear. Oh, sorry, page 8. If you come down, if you just scroll down, see, this is key. Once you understand this, then the rest of it falls into place. So the return of autonomic system is where we funnel all of the funds into the system. So you've got your owner's unity ecosystem, the additional revenue. So that's for all of the utilities that we provide in the crypto space. And then you've got your real world utilities. They all go into the secondary and tertiary autonomics. The owner's unity payment plan and the payments are from the homeowners. And then obviously the owner's unity token, primary autonomics and staking is the traditional format. And the reward system is how the payments get divided from the secondary and tertiary autonomics. So then if we go to the other system, so if we go back to strategies overview, which is number 8, strategy 1 is the secret sauce. It's an investment strategy that has a basic entrance and exit plan. And that's the money that is generated that is then divided using the secondary autonomics. The strategy 2 and strategy 3 are the 2 options for the portfolio that the client can have tied to their property. So they have a choice of a traditional, 50% traditional, 50% crypto portfolio tied to the property. And then strategy 3 is just basically a crypto strategy. So all of the tokens that go into that portfolio are purely crypto based. And then when you come down, it's the tertiary autonomics and the client autonomics. The client autonomics is basically when we get the investment, we reinvest the 35%, which is the client's money, and then that is divided as is seen in those boxes there. And the tertiary autonomics is basically, say for instance, owner's unity generates $1,000 for itself from the secondary autonomics, but it only costs $500 for the running costs. We don't then, divide the additional $500 amongst ourselves or, put it away for a rainy day. We put that money back into the system as well. So every spare bit of money is used to generate additional revenue. And from there, you have the division where you can go, 45% goes to owner's unity from that side, 15% to the client. On the client side, it's 15% to owner's unity, 45% to the client. So from the tokenomics, what you get is you get a system where primarily the client receives 35% from their initial rent. So the rent goes in $500, say, just to keep it simple. That $500 is invested along with the additional revenue that goes in. Out of all of that money, the client receives 35%. The 500 is obviously taken out. It's out of the profit. So that 500 goes against the value of the property all the time. They don't lose out anything. And then they gain an additional 35% for each investment that we do. And that's what brings down the value of the property quite substantially. And that goes into the portfolio that then totals up to the value of the property. And that's why if they get injured or anything, and with our brokerage as well, we can purchase the gas and the electricity for these properties, and we can put it in the portfolio so that that money isn't then taken from the client. So although we can't give the client a pay rise, what we can do is make sure that the money that they actually earn goes further. You know, these are options that the portfolio can be used for. Like I said, if they get injured, you can draw down from that. And then when the target is reached, that property keeps that portfolio in perpetuity. So as long as that family lives in that property will continue to provide a passive income for the incumbents. And I believe enough in crypto to think that anything that we start now and we purchase over the next 5 to 10 years, 15 years after that, some of it will be dead. It will be no good. But there'll be some real gems in there, you know? And in 15, 20 years, that property is going to have a nice little passive income to pass down either way. So it just generates additional income, so it doesn't mean their money's dead. And that's the additional security that's involved. We obviously take a reserve out of it because we want to put in as many fail safes as possible. And the fail safe we've gone for at the moment is a cross between gold and Bitcoin. So it's, you know, where we're trying to be. It's just an extra fail safe so that if you know, worst case scenario, if there is something wrong with the crypto market that's really bad, then we're still cushioned by the gold side of it. And that's the basic outline of the strategy, if you can call it a basic outline.
I agree with you on that one. Gold is currently a very, very good product to get hold of. My uncle's, he's American, he's stacking gold, he stacks gold dimes, different kind of like king coins. Very, very good thing to look into. It's actually what I'm currently looking into, stacking at the minute as well. In the case crypto ever collapses, we really don't know where cash is going at the minute in this world. We don't know what's happening with inflations. It's nice to have a good storage of something that has a pretty accurate wealth instead of the pound or the dollar. So that I do
at the moment, though, silver is more sought after, more on demand than gold due to scarcity. And Uganda, I think they hit like this huge ore strain of gold. But yeah, that's a different subject. Scott, I really like the outline that you gave here, and especially hearing how the extra profit someone can generate from their portfolio can pay for their, how do you call that in English? Like the electricity and the bills that you have. Yeah, the utility bills, yes. That can be huge, especially if you talk about affordable housing and people that are already in need of a house because they have bad credibility or whatever. They tend also to have harder times getting the contracts with the utilities. Like if you haven't paid the electricity for a couple of months, yeah, good luck trying to get electricity for your next house. So if you guys can schedule that as well, that's a big plus.
I've actually got a personal question for you as well. I'll let Das probably answer this one. So, as I said earlier, I'm looking for property myself. Now, I'll probably talk to you after to actually talk about what's going on. But I'm looking to get property myself. Now, I don't have any dedicated wages. Nobody has any clue how much I earn except from myself. How would you proceed with me in that structure? Because I don't have a current, not solicitor, accountant. How would you take about that situation? Knowing that I am higher class wage can also show previous wages that are, of course, way, way, way above the standard wage. How would you go in context to that?
You prove you've been paying your rent.
Yeah, so let's say I can prove I've paid my phone bill for the last 2 years. I've paid rent. I'm currently living at home, so I've paid rent to my father for the past 2 years, etc. I've been paying for my motorcycle insurance the past 2 years every single time. Is that something you also look at, or do you only look at people that have paid rent in the past? Because I am currently a first-time renter, first-time house buyer, etc. Anything.
No,
But
we're designed specifically not just for that, but for people like you. This is what this product is designed for. If you can show that you've got a history of payments, then we will look at that, and we take the human element into it. So if you, especially in crypto space, you've probably got a portfolio, etc., and additional revenue streams that you can prove. You must have bank statements.
Yeah, well, that's it. But yeah, bank statements, withdrawals from Binance to the bank, etc.
Then that's we take the human into consideration, not just the figures, because there are people that fall outside of the boundaries of what traditional finance accepts, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly upstanding citizens, and that's what this is designed for. So you'd go through the application, and we would put you into the system, and if you were voted on, then you'd get the same option as anyone else. We don't discriminate.
Yeah, no, I think that would be an amazing system. Like I said, that can be built. Is something even I would personally be looking into. Mainly for the fact that I literally cannot get accepted for doing anything. I can't mortgage, I can't pay any rents because there's no proof of any of my bills being there. So anything I'm doing currently has to go through my missus, and the house has to be in her name. Not the fact that I would like that to be in my name. I know that I'm on a higher earning wage. I know what I've earned in the last 2 years. And it's way above, of course, the threshold. But of course, this isn't something that isn't looked into within crypto, because unfortunately, I'll just pull that off. Unfortunately, a lot of money can be stored on one of these things, as we know. A lot of money can also be taken out to your bank. So I don't have a steady source of income. I can choose, of course, to top my bank up every month, every week, its own dedicated wage. So I do love the aspect of what you're building based on the person and different kind of checks, not just have you paid your rent for the 6 months, the basic checks everybody else goes through. I'll definitely be following along with it. I'll be coming along asking a few more questions, etc., for me personally, also for the community side.
Yeah, I think the other thing to remember is once you're involved in our system, it actually will help you build your credit rating as well. But you've got to have the traditional side of it as well.
Yeah, not doing a credit check on Experian and then getting your credit score go down from it.
Yeah. I know this is off topic slightly, but don't you think it's crazy that you can do 5 searches to get yourself the best mortgage price, then apply for that mortgage, and then they turn you down because you've done 5 searches?
Agreed, mate. Agreed. That's one of the things I've told the missus. I've always gone to the bank to do my credit checks. People don't realize doing credit checks actually takes down your credit score. It's a very, very weird system, even though that's basically jailing you, saying, if you look at this, we're going to take this away from you. I think that's pretty crazy. So I do all mine throughout my bank and etc. But yeah, it's an odd strategy that they have there, especially with credit scores, which is why I'm so pleasant as to what you're building. I do highly rate it. I think as long as everything runs well, everything in the back end can go along, and you do get everything pushed forward, especially with the legal side of things, I can see a huge market for this, especially knowing me myself, being a house buyer. I know so many people around me that are my age that cannot afford a mortgage, even with a crypto wage. Honestly, buying a £30,000-40,000 mortgage is a very, very tricky job. And of course, I'm in the higher earning part of being one of the influences. But if you're just a standard crypto trader, I wouldn't say everybody is above a huge normal wage of 16 to 19,000, depending, of course, how wealthy you are, how you trade, etc. But yeah, it's a good aspect. I do like what is being built here.
I think Simon can run you through the legals, because we are actually quite well represented on that front. Simon, do you want to go through the bodies that we're involved with?
Yeah, that's fine, guys. Not a problem. Obviously, these are only UK for now. but we have TBot, as you've already heard from, but we're ICO accredited. Now, the ICO it's kind of, I suppose, the UK's independent authority. And it's kind of been set up to uphold all the information rights in the public interest, and it promotes openness by all the public bodies, and it's got the data privacy there for everybody as well. We've got the NRLA, which is the National Residential Landlords Association. Now, I think most of you will know that. You certainly will, Immortal.
I do indeed. It is everything I'm currently looking into in crypto and out of crypto.
There you go then. But that's as simple as that. With regards to the NRLA, it's there for a reason, to ensure that everything's fully above board as well, present and correct, with regards to anything to do with the house that you are renting or purchasing as well.
Yeah, keep everything above board.
Correct. There's the property redress scheme. Now, that kind of thing is offering redress for consumers, property agents and professionals. It ensures that everything, again, is above board, present and correct. So you have to be audited on a regular basis again.
Of course.
There's myself personally, having the estate agency here, I am WorldPay certified. I have to take monies on a regular basis, be it cash or over the WorldPay machine. So you have to, well, make sure you're not a naughty boy, I suppose, in that respect, to be accredited with regards to that. There's also the accreditations that you have to have with the councils. Now, you boys broached upon this before with regards to the two type of things. There was two sides with regards to the social housing and I believe the private type of housing. Now, the social housing, yeah, most councils nowadays here in the UK have a social housing. It's no longer run by the council. It's been privatised. It's in the northeast. It's now owned by somebody called Believe Housing. Now, yeah, the costs of rent will be cheaper, but you're never going to be able to own it. It's owned by the council. Margaret Thatcher back in the 80s had an idea of selling houses out to people. And it was a very good idea. The problem was they never built any more. We have a serious lack of housing in the UK alone, never mind the rest of the world. So the simplistic fact is this. Yes, we're going down the private housing route because it's the only way with regards to the fact of society nowadays and the way things are with mortgages. It's impossible, nigh on impossible to get a mortgage. You found that yourself. I own my own business. I find that myself now impossible because they want more years of books after a messy divorce. So there's some truth. It's ridiculous, unfortunately. So what we're going to do is change it. You can afford to rent. I can afford to rent. Why can't we own our own home?
I think that's a good closing statement and sums up the project really well. Why can't we afford our own home? That's what I got from the presentation, especially Scott's explanation on what differentiates this from a mortgage, and it's focused on rentees and people that might not be able to apply for a mortgage. I did have one final question from my side, and then I would like to conclude the AMA. And that's why launch this on the Binance Smart Chain, and why not on something like, I don't know, Ethereum is utility heavy, but also the more upcoming chains like Solana or ADA. Why BSC? Scott, maybe a question for you.
Sorry, you're absolutely correct. BSC is the starting point. BSC, we understand the reputation BSC has, but it's also good for the type of token that we've started as. We're actually looking, you guys have probably heard of them, once we progress and grow, to get involved in a type of project like Aleph Zero. It's a whole new peer-reviewed blockchain. It's the next step forward. It goes beyond Ethereum and anything that's currently out there. But we plan to be multi-chain eventually. This was the first iterants of what we're doing, and we will evolve over time, and we will go on to other networks. Obviously, if we're going to go for CEXs, we'll need there's no point having a reflectionary token for CEXs, so we'll need a token to garner that additional kind of access as well. So this is just, it's a concept that we're moving forward. BSC was the best place to start to get it out there. As we evolve, we will grow and we will move into different areas. But the key thing is that this is a hybrid project. I know I keep harping on about it, but it's important to remember that it's hybrid stroke transitionary. We are trying to move crypto into a place where it can actually decouple from fiat. And the best way to do, not in the short term, we see this as a generational type project. Okay, we've got a roadmap, a very extensive long-term roadmap, and there are ways to do it. So, for instance, just to give you an idea, if you build a closed system with a single fiat conduit in and out, then that's how you first start building towards crypto decoupling. I'm not going to go any further into that, but that's something that we're looking to build out that would be a real world project, but runs solely on crypto and just has a single fiat conduit in and out of that ecosystem. And then you grow that, put that in a few more places, and you move forward, because as long as crypto stays where it is, it's just another fiat offshoot.
Yeah. Digital.
Awesome. So just one very, oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, that didn't answer my question in regards to why BSC. I'm happy to hear it's multi-chain and long-term, but it doesn't answer why you would start on BSC and wouldn't start on ETH. Because if I'm looking at integrations, for example, with Shopify, WooCommerce, your website built on WordPress, there's tons of payment providers that can offer you ETH payments, so easy integrations, whilst BNB, but especially one of the more your own token, for example, it's very hard to get a payment provider that can swap fiat crypto and have that dual. So yeah, that, to me, it's just why BSC. If you could elaborate a bit more, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, BSC seemed to be a good place to start with regards to the reflection type token and the type of product that we were producing. We're in talks with a partner already with regards to a fiat on-off ramp who works in the BSC space. They're also building a multi-chain product as well that we will be utilizing. So we've thought this out, and we have thought through the processes of how to grow and move on. So basically, it was about the reflections side of it to start.
Makes sense. Okay, yeah, thanks for that.
Just a quick one from me, not on the project or anything. Are you guys doxed location-wise, or are you doxed within a town like Manchester, Leeds, etc., or are you just doxed face-wise?
And no, we're pretty open. We're fully KYC doxed with regards to where we are. I don't know specifically if it says about country or not country or location specifically, but I've literally said,
right?
I'm just wondering where you are, because obviously I'm in the UK, so
I've literally said on this AMA exactly where I am. I'm pretty sure you remember that, don't you, bud?
Yeah, I'm just Gdansk. Yeah,
I'm 15 clicks outside of Gdansk, and
yeah. You said you got a few in the UK as well.
Simon told you he's in Durham. Tyson told you he's in Kansas. Yeah, we're yeah. Everyone knows where we are.
Awesome. So a base
perfect
team.
Okay, guys. I've learned a lot, and I'm pleased to say that you guys changed my mind, because going in, I had a lot of questions about legality and mortgage and how that would intertwine with the regulations and GDPR and all kind of things. But it really became clear that you thought this out and have a different take on something that is very common, which is not something you see often. So yeah, I'm happy to say that you guys changed my mind. I'm looking forward to how this develops over the coming months to begin with, but definitely over the coming years, with you guys pushing the first house, having the first rentees move in, and all the celebrations that will follow. So if you have any closing statements, please go ahead.
Thanks for having us. By the way, it's appreciated. We just want to try and move crypto forward, and to do that, we believe everyone on our team believes crypto is the future. Every one of us is 100% committed to making that happen. To do that, we need greater adoption. For greater adoption, you need to make normal people, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but your average person needs to know how crypto helps them. Housing is one of the major issues in the world. Blockchain is good for housing. Crypto can be very good for housing. If you can show people how it makes them secure and benefits them in the real world, like I said, how does it pay my utilities? How does it, help me, cover costs? Get people a decent standard of home. You give them more opportunities in life. You'll get more people going to schools, getting educated. You raise the floor, you raise the standard, and that should move society forward and move them towards crypto, because crypto is the future. And we believe you do that through lifting people up and helping each other rather than making profit off the backs of people. Still a business, still going to make money, but we're just not going to be greedy. We're going to redistribute some of that funds.
Yeah, Scott, I would really love to connect off recording and change a bit of perspectives and ideas, because I do think, if I hear what you just said in compared to what we are working on, and the bakery is, of course, also part of a bigger ecosystem, basically focusing on the same, bringing crypto to the masses. I do see some opportunities because we are very like-minded. So I would like to end this AMA with you guys explaining a bit more about your approach towards the ICO, and how listeners and our community could participate in the maybe private sale, but at least the pre-sale.
Raj?
What's that, Scott? Sorry.
Golden hands with that. Yeah.
Perfect. Golden hands, if you could unmute yourself, I can hear you.
I think it disappeared.
Yeah. Oh, I'll do it then if he's not about. Oh, yeah, we've got the first part of the private is in Reflex, so you can go over to the Reflex launch pad. You can go on there and just sign up. Minimum is 0.5, maximum is 5 B&B, and it's still open for a few days. So you know, you can jump on there and become part of the family moving forward.
Awesome.
I've not actually looked at that part. Is that vested or unvested?
It's vested. It's on the website. It should be vested.
Private round. Yeah, I see it. Got your so vest is for. Does it show the vest on the launch pad, or is that shown elsewhere?
It shows it on our. I don't know why it don't show it here, but it's on our website and it's on the white paper. It's 10% on launch, 2-month cliff, and then the rest over 6 months for private. Although if you do invest, we also have our own direct contract, and our direct contract has an APY on it. So if you invest direct with us, you go through the same private process, the same vesting process, but our vested tokens you'll receive an APY on. And the reason we've done that is because, you know, I've been in this game, you guys have been in this game. It's annoying that people, you know, you support a project from the early days and you don't really get anything from it. You get a few more tokens, but then other people get crazy APYs, and by the time your vested tokens come out of vesting, the APY is back down to 15%, and you're like, why didn't I get some of that? So, you know, we're just trying to reward the people. So you can go direct as well, or you can go with Reflex. And we've given people the two options so that if they feel safer by doing it through Reflex, they can do that. And the final thing on safety is we're locking our smart contract and liquidity with Everrise. So that's one thing that we've done just to add an additional level of security. We've got anti-whale and anti-dumping measures out there as well, which are also on the website. We've been in touch with Shield Coin. So we're also sort of like on there, they've gone through their criteria. We should be medium risk, and then after 3 months proof of concept, Yeshua has already said that if we get the proof of concept and that done, he'll put us down to low risk. We're also in talks about portfolio and other stuff with additional security measures. So our portfolio on the properties, I have had a conversation with Yeshua, and I've had a conversation with other bodies to look to add additional security and protection for that as well.
When you say Everrise and you're locking the liquidity, which makes absolute sense, but locking the contract, do you mean you will be basically renouncing ownership to the Everrise lockers?
No.
Okay. No, you scared me for a second. I think that's the worst utility out there, like the ever own. So that scared me, because never give away the keys to your contract if you're fully doxed behind your project.
Yeah, no, we're not planning on giving it away. My understanding is they have an option where they have a wraparound, so you don't give the keys to your contract away, but you just can't go directly in and access it yourself. So what happens is you have a community vote. The community then gives you a yay or nay. Yeah. And then
that's ever own, but trust me, you'd rather keep it yourselves. Don't use it.
If you're doxed, you have everything to show. Same as myself. I own a project which has currently, I've owned some in the past that have very bad contracts. I've also had mint functions, but because I'm fully doxed, I don't feel the reason to need to go through any of that / renounce. I know I'm publicized and can prove any payments. I think you should feel the same. You're doxed. You shouldn't feel the need to have any, especially when you're doing KYCs as well and audits. You've got more incentive there that you wouldn't need a community vote. That's just my personal thoughts.
I had a look at your contract pre-AMA. I always have a read on BSC scan, see what's in the code, and I don't see any functions that are an immediate threat, like unlimited minting or things that you could maliciously do with liquidity being locked. Even your taxes can't be raised above 30%, so it can't be honeypot. Like, I don't see a reason why you would renounce the ownership to the Everown. One thing going forward, like I noticed from my own project, is holders are in many different chats and aren't always paying attention. So let's say you want to change the tax, you want to lower the buy tax, raise the sell tax, and everyone is going about having a barbecue, doing whatever, and you can't change it. They don't show up for the vote, you can't proceed. So those kind of things, like, in my opinion, if you are behind your project and you know what you're doing and your contract doesn't have any exposed functions, owner specific, that are high risk, there's really no use case for Everroad. And that's nothing in regards to Everrise, because I even hold Rise, but that whole utility is just a farce.
Okay, then we can just lock the liquidity. All we're trying to do is offer, probably going a bit far, but offer as much security, which is why we've got so many fail safes in not just the project, but the anti-whale, anti-dumping. Yes. We're just trying to make sure, because crypto, the space in itself, there's a lot of cowboys out there, and we're just trying to offer as much reassurance and protection for our investors as possible. So,
I get what you're saying. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and I think everyone appreciates that if you do show goodwill. And to me, it sounds like you've gone on above and beyond what it could be expected from any project. But the main thing is you showed your face, your LinkedIn is on the website. You guys have a vision. You have industry track record, and also business knowledge. So I just wouldn't go for Everown. For some projects like meme tokens or non-docs tokens is definitely a good solution, but for you guys, it's a waste of money. And I will go into too much detail, but to me, that part is a waste of money. Do get the audit and get this on the road, because it looks good, guys, and I'll definitely be having a look at the private sale and probably also contributing.
Well, superb. Thanks very much. And just DM us, and I can run you through a few other bits and bobs that we can't run through in general chat to give you a much fuller flavour, because we want to work with like-minded. You don't get anywhere on your own. You work with people, you build out, and you make it a better space for everyone. That's us.
Agreed. Appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us for the past almost 1.5, 2 hours. It's been an interesting one. Really appreciate the info that you put together, because it's a definite white paper, not just a marketing paper that we sometimes see. So also applaud you for that. And I'm looking forward to the follow-up. It's up to you guys when we see you again. Like I always opt for follow-ups once there's a new announcement, development, like you have your MVP ready or your first house purchase in this for this utility. So let's keep in touch, and I'll definitely jump in your DMs, Scott, to talk a bit more, maybe schedule a call and get a bit personal.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. Take care. Thank you, everyone.
You too. That's been a pleasure. Thank you, all of you.